Hello there folks, welcome back to the Chap's Guide. My name is Ash and I am your host on this journey through men's style, self-development and personal grooming. Now, as you know, on my channel, occasionally I like to get a little bit philosophical about the way that we are approaching style in the modern world, because things are changing all the time. They always have, they're always going to. But it's interesting to take maybe a temperature of the style world right here, right now. And today I'm going to do that. I've made some notes and I will refer to them because I've given this quite a lot of thought. But today's question came to me when a gentleman wrote to me, a chap called Alberto. And I will tell you what Alberto has said. So, these are Alberto's words. This morning, I attended a funeral in a crowded and certainly not a small church. I was the only man out of several hundred men wearing a suit, a tie and dress shoes. It was a triumph for shorts, t-shirts and sneakers. I must confess that I was astounded, as us Italians are usually seen as well-dressed. This is nothing new, I suppose, but it suddenly hit me as a demonstration of the decay of Western civilization and values, which always included respect for the dead, and this was shown by means of dressing well at funerals. I am afraid that this is proof of the adoption by most of the easy way of acting, conforming to current trends regardless of personal tastes and inclination. May I ask your opinion on this matter? Well, Alberto makes an excellent point. And I'm sorry this might be a longer video because I'm just going to talk about this and I'm going to refer to my notes as we go along. There's no glamour here today. This is actually what I think about the state of the decay of style and where we sit in the world today. Now, much like Alberto, I've been unfortunate enough to have to attend a few funerals just recently. And it is fair to say that as a man wearing a shirt and tie, you do feel like something of an outlier, because we are living in a world where people definitely dress very differently. Now, my initial thoughts are quite broad. I mean, I've always been a broad-minded guy. I read broadly. I try to, ingest as much information as I can to work out why we are in the way that we are today. My first thought would be, it's true. The way that we dress has always been more than just a matter of personal preference. It does reflect societal values and cultural norms as well, very much so, as well as the personal discipline of the person who is, the one who is dressing themselves for whatever reason. In Western society, the trend towards casuality has sparked a debate, and as Alberto says, this debate rages on. Is the way that we dress today a sign of the tumbling standards of Western culture? Is it a decay of societal norms, or is it just people are changing the way they dress as they always have done through the unfolding of the centuries? It's true to say in the modern era that suits, hats, things like this, as normal attire for every man has now gone, the way of the dodo. It's extinct. And today people are choosing comfort over style. They are choosing sweatpants, hoodies, sneakers, athleisure wear, basically. And this has become the standard in most situations. I'm sure there would have been men attending that funeral dressed in what we would have considered to be athleisure wear, workout wear, which is remarkable when you think about it, how this trend has shifted in just a few years. So today, I've given this some thought. I've got 4 points here that I'm going to discuss with you today, maybe in not huge depth, but I'm open to have deeper conversations about this if this is something which interests you. So, these are the 4 reasons why I think there is some indication that there has been a decay of style in the world today. Okay, now the first thing I'd like to chat about really is the loss of formality and respect in social interactions. And it's one of the most visual consequences of maybe the shift in style, the erosion of dressing well in recent years, because you see the formality being turned down a notch in society wherever you go, not just funerals, as Alberto has said, but across the wider piece. In the past, dressing well for work and doing other social things like dining out or even just attending events in your local community very much was seen. You would dress up because you would be seen by others, and this would be seen as a sign of you showing respect, not just for the event that you're attending, the gravitas of the event, but also your respect for the other people around you as well. Because when you dressed up, it showed the world, you know, this was something which it was worth dressing up for. Particularly for men and women, of course, in their own way, but for men, putting a suit on to attend an event, to attend a dinner appointment, to go to a meeting, maybe even the village fete every year in your small little town or village. It carried with it, by putting on a suit, it carried with it this signal to the world that the event which you're attending matters. It's important because you have dressed up for that situation, whether it's, you know, the gravity of the situation or the person that is running it or you're going to see. In this day and age, we now see people wearing jeans and workout clothes to their normal workplace, whereas in the past it would have absolutely been the norm for a gentleman to put a shirt and tie on. When I was a young chap, you know, if you worked in a sort of clean environment, an office environment, rather than a mechanic or on a factory sort of environment, you would, as a matter of course, wear a shirt and tie. It was the minimum level of expected dress for somebody who wasn't involved in a dirty hands profession. And it was the delineator to a degree. It communicates to people that, you know, the event or thing that you're going to is important by you dressing up to go there. And that's been lost. There has definitely been a change. The casualization of dress that we see in the world today, does it reflect a broader change in society? Whereas now, you know, we're just not interested in getting dressed up. We're not interested in style in the same way. And I think you can see that across the broader piece. So I'll put it like this. A few years ago, if you were, you know, going into a shop and somebody would speak to you, or somebody, even a stranger, tried to attract your attention. Shall we say I walked down the street and somehow I dropped my wallet on the floor, and a gentleman walking behind me saw that I had done so, and he wanted to attract my attention so that he could return the wallet to me. A generation ago, the person would have shouted, "Sir, sir," or "Mister, mister." These days, it's "buddy," or "Oi, you," something like that. There is this shift towards respect and formality, towards the lowest common denominator of society. Now, the second thing I'd like to talk about when it comes to this, are we talking towards a shift or a decay in the style of the world around us? And that is a decline in discipline and self-presentation that people have generally. You know, historically, dressing well was associated with self-discipline because you had to put a bit of effort into getting dressed, to putting your clothes ready. Your appearance was something which you were judged by with other people. You know, you would be termed as being well turned out by somebody as they sort of described you to somebody else. Oh yes, he's a smart chap, well turned out. It means that you put some effort in. You put thoughtfulness into your appearance, and being polished and smart was something which was in itself respected by other people. Today, though, the sort of preference for comfortable and casual clothing, perhaps we can see it as a reflection of the modern trend towards, you know, instant gratification, minimum effort. People today, they do not want to pull the ironing board out, plug the iron in, and spend 5 or 10 minutes ironing their shirt, ironing their trousers. They can't be bothered. And not only can they not be bothered, but the vast majority of people today don't know how to do that. They don't know how to iron a shirt. And I can tell this because one of the most viewed videos on my channel, it's been viewed hundreds of thousands of times, is a quick video I did over a year ago, which was called How to Iron a Dress Shirt. And I can only presume that video is so popular because many folks find themselves in a position where they're going out to maybe a wedding or something and they think, crikey, I've got to iron this shirt. I don't know how to do it. Let's Google it. And they watch my video and then they learn how to iron a shirt. But it tells you something about the modern cohort of men that they want to live their lives in an environment of extreme comfort. There's no effort, no inconvenience, no discomfort wanted in the life of a modern man at all. But all of that convenience comes at an expense. And that expense for me is the loss of elegance and grace from a man's life. When you lose these skills, you will lose them forever because you will not pass it on to the next generation. When I was an 11-year-old child, I learned to tie a Windsor knot because my father showed me how to do that because my school uniform involved a school tie and I tied it with a Windsor knot. Today I've got a half Windsor with my tie. I learned that skill as a 10 or 11-year-old and it's been with me ever since. My own son, when he was 11 and he went to his secondary school, the school no longer had a self-tie tie, they had a tie with a clip. So I was denied the opportunity to have that father-son moment where I taught my son, for the purpose of his school uniform, how to tie a Windsor knot. And as it is right now, he's 14. He doesn't know how to tie a tie because he hasn't encountered a situation as yet where he needs to do so. And I fear that without my intervention very soon, my son could potentially go through his life never having the skill how to do a necktie. Now, that is a tragic indictment, perhaps, of society today and how we present ourselves to the world around us. Now, the next reason when I was thinking about this question about the decay of style and how maybe it reflects society in large, that I came across was maybe it's the breakdown of social hierarchies. Because in previous generations, if you think about this, the way that you dressed communicated to the people around you a lot about your status, your financial situation, and even your profession. Because if you were a professional man, so shall we say you were a doctor, a dentist, an architect, a successful businessman, a boss or a manager, all right, a tailored suit would delineate you immediately from the person who worked with their hands. If you were a carpenter, a mechanic, somebody working in the factory, you wouldn't be wearing a tailored suit to work. You would still dress smartly in that era, for sure. But the tailored suit, and I say tailored suit, you know, a well-cut suit, would be the gentleman's uniform of that era. Today, style, though, has become much more democratic because everybody seems to dress in the same way. People are dressing for comfort and casuality rather than the impact of their clothing. The lines have been blurred. If you think about it, in recent years, even the most successful business entrepreneurs on the planet, right, the richest men in the world who have been self-made, who have put themselves there through toil or good ideas or innovation, those men eschewed the traditional gentleman's outfit a long time ago. I'm thinking about the richest men in the world, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk. These men, they are kind of famous for not dressing in the standard businessman way. They no longer wear ties, they no longer wear suits unless they're forced to. And I think we can trace this back to Steve Jobs, the original sort of architect of the modern Apple empire that we see today. You know, he famously chose to wear a more casual shirt instead of a collar and tie when he presented the face of his company to the world. And of course, as at that time, maybe one of the most visual, successful entrepreneurs in the world, people wanted to emulate him. So, you know, if you can't do it in business, you do it in style. They dressed like him. Jeans, t-shirts, these have become now the uniform of the successful. I think originally it started out as a type of rebellion against the old order, where these stiff upper lip gentlemen were seen as quite stiff-collared. Shirt, tie, suit, it's what you expected. In the UK, a bowler hat, an umbrella, a sort of briefcase. You could see the city gent going to work and you knew what he was just by the way he was dressed. But these new generation, they've become rebellious, and the common man has chosen to follow suit. They now dress for ease, for comfort, rather than for social value and for pride in their appearance. It's caused a flattening of the social hierarchy, because when you see everybody walking down the street now, it's no longer an act of rebellion, because everybody is dressed the same, casually, athleisure, sweat clothes, jeans, sneakers, comfortable. These days, in a bizarre turn of events, rebellion is now to dress well. I think that the intentionally well-dressed man now stands out in a crowd of his peers more than at any time in the previous couple of generations. So actually, as a man who enjoys dressing well, these are our halcyon years, because they are times when we will be recognised for what we truly are. People who can be bothered to curate a decent set of clothes on a daily basis. Now, the final thing I want to chat with you today, and you're probably thinking, thank God for that, he's banged on enough, but it is, we have seen a shifting in the values. We are definitely now in a time where people dress entirely for comfort rather than aesthetic in the way that they dress. And it's because of this modern obsession with comfort and ease, which has shifted our modern, even moral values towards taking the easy route rather than doing something which is a little bit more tough. Athleisure, in my earlier years, was something which was the total preserve of the gymnasium. So I've always taken physical exercise throughout my adult life, and I would go to the gym, and those training shoes, sweat clothes, that is the clothes which I would only wear to the gym. There were no supermarkets of clothing just selling athleisure wear as there are today in the world. I would go to the gym, get changed into my proper clothes when I came back. Today, athleisure wear is the mainstream. Like I say, it's no longer the unusual, it is the perfectly normal. And the line between casual and what used to be considered appropriate is now more blurred than ever. And I tell you how you can see that. I mean, I live in a town, near to a town, thank God. I'm 4 miles away from the main town. I live in a small rural village. But in the town itself, I will walk through that town, and it is not uncommon, and I say this in all honesty, for me to see people walking to the supermarkets near the housing estates in their pyjamas and night clothes. Just the other day, I was driving down the main road and I saw 2 women wearing dressing gowns and nightwear, walking. Clearly they lived quite near the supermarket and they were going for a packet of cigarettes or whatever, but they thought nothing of walking down the side of a main road, hundreds of cars going past, wearing their night attire in public. And it wasn't even early in the morning. It was something like 10 or 11 a.m. when most right-minded people are already at work or doing something constructive. And it just tells you something about the society that we live in, that this is considered something that they would consider normal, and yet other people don't even look twice at it now. I mean, of course, when I come home, I would say to my wife, you never guess what I just saw. And she then responds to me by saying, well, I see that all the time. I drive down that road every day. It's kind of a daily occurrence. And I've been in supermarkets and seen people in pyjamas pushing trolleys around the supermarket getting their food. Now, in my era, right, I subscribed to an expression, dress to impress. For me, if I wanted to go out and present my best side to the world, I would take part in a ritual. I would shave, because I would never dream of going out without being clean shaven. Again, it is a sign that, I have self-discipline. I would dress myself nicely, and I would speak to people in a pleasant, respectful manner. A pride in myself, and a genuine desire to look my best and act my best in front of other people as a representative of the generations that I'm come from. I want my parents to be proud of the man that they created and brought into the world, and the way that I, treat other people and look in front of other people. But this ideology seems to be all but gone now. And I'm sorry to be a sort of humdrum and doom monger here, but what I will end on is by saying, I think there is still a societal memory for dressing well and having that sort of respect that we see with other people. Because I tell you why. I'm quite casually dressed really right now. I'm just wearing a very simple, very inexpensive sort of blazer with a white shirt and tie, and I've got a pair of chinos on below the waist, which you can't see, and a pair of brogues, right? Very simple, ordinary, everyday outfit that I would wear most days. When I walk around the streets today, looking as I do now, you will be amazed the number of people who compliment me as I walk around the streets. Abject strangers will say to me, "Looking sharp, sir, looking good." People will hold doors open for me. When I walk into a shop and I want the attention of a sales agent or an assistant, I get it pretty damn quickly, because people look at me amongst everybody else dressed in their sweatpants and they think, oh, who's this fellow? He looks important, he's dressed well. So as I say, there is still a societal memory, and I think now that everybody is dressed super casually, I think we will see a bounce back. I've always said this. Now that the world has hit rock bottom, the only way is up. And I think we will slowly begin to see people appreciating the value of dressing well. And I think society will see that too. And people will start to find a new respect for themselves. And as time goes on, there will be an enjoyment of dressing well. I'm sorry really that I've had to go on for so long about this subject, but Alberto asked me that question about my views on the decay of style and how that may reflect a decay generally within society. So I thought it merited a proper response, and those were my thoughts, my feelings, my observations on it. Again, apologies, somewhat long, somewhat rambling, but if you share my ideology, you may appreciate my views on it, and hopefully feel positive in the way that I do too, but at the same time, enjoy the fact that everybody around you dresses as a slob, so it makes us, intentionally well-dressed men, look all that much better. There is a silver lining to every dark cloud. So folks, there we go. That was my rambling chat today. I hope you enjoyed it, if you stuck it out to the end. If you did, like the video, subscribe for more. You can support the channel by buying me a coffee, become a patron. Hear more of my rambling rants, because I make extra videos for my patrons. And you can find out how to become involved with that in the show notes below. You can also send me a question, just like Alberto did, and you might get a response like this in return, so you'll be sorry that you did. But you can do that by dropping me a comment in the comment section, or even better, send me an email. Email address is on the screen. They come directly to me. Nobody else reads my emails, only me. You can be honest and frank, and I would be delighted to hear from you. So until the next time, let us change that decay in society. Be the shining light of style in a world of darkness around you. And I will see you again very soon.